guys, welcome to Super Little Challenges. I'm Daniel Thomas and my guest today is Falyn Morningstar. Falyn is a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner who, from her own personal fitness journey, has adopted a more integrative approach to health and well-being. We discuss how supporting the body as a whole is often overlooked and some of the more progressive tools that may provide support and answers when it comes to healing the body. I sure learnt a lot from this one, guys. I hope you do too. Enjoy it. Let's go. How has your journey led you to where you are today?
Great question. My journey actually very much started in the womb, but we'll say my conscious journey started at age 26 when I was dealing with a lot of physical health symptoms. And some of those being bloating, body image issues, emotional eating, irregular menstrual cycle, some hair loss, the list kind of goes on. And I didn't really find help in the traditional medical system. My family physician, as well as my gynecologist, were not really solution focused. I didn't feel validated for my concerns because I looked normal. My typical blood panel was normal. And I knew I wasn't feeling normal. So that led me into functional health because thankfully I had a mutual friend that knew things about it. And I actually did some testing, such as a food sensitivity test, a hormone test, and a stool test were the three main ones I've done. From there, it validated my concerns because I could see on paper some of the things that were going on inside. Because as practitioners, we make clinical correlation between the health symptoms and the test. And that was a clear roadmap for me to be able to heal my physical health symptoms. And I became a practitioner in that same field because the information was so transformative. And of course, as we know, tests are not the end all be all. We really have to shift our lifestyle. And that was huge for me as well. So that's a little bit about how I got into the functional side.
Yeah, nice. I can really relate with this kind of losing faith in kind of standard Western medicine, without undermining the kind of need to seek professional advice. Just personally, from my doctor's visits in recent years, it's the same thing. I felt I've kind of got the runaround. I've been prescribed things that are totally off kilter with some of the stuff that I've been experiencing. So, for instance, I had an acidity issue with food, and then the doctor prescribed me like acid blockers, and it just completely messed me up. And then I realized I had some gluten sensitivity, and it was nothing to do with acidity. So yeah, I've kind of had this battle lately of wanting to get on top of this stuff, but not having a kind of faith in the standard practices. And as you've just said, in the testing that you did, it gave you a roadmap, and then your kind of faith was restored. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely, yeah. And like I said, it's a huge lifestyle shift. Gluten is a big one that can cause a lot of inflammation and digestive issues, and it's like gluten-free things are now always out there. We see all these gluten-free packages, but it's so much deeper than that. And it expands so much because there's cross-contamination that can happen whenever you're eating out. And maybe you are ordering something gluten-free. It doesn't necessarily mean that it isn't contaminated with it. So it's always so much deeper, which is interesting and frustrating sometimes.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's the manifestation of stress, right? Which is often not addressed in any of these conversations, but is so common. So what is functional diagnostic nutrition? What's the definition of it?
Yeah, so that is the company name, and really we as practitioners go through the certification to become a practitioner called Functional Diagnostic Nutrition Practitioner. And basically, what it means is that we are essentially coaches that support other people to lead a more holistic lifestyle. We're an integrative, holistic type of practitioner, and we have the ability to order these tests and have them drop shipped to a client's home, making it very easy and doable to get the answers that you need. So really, if you think of FDN as the acronym, we take a whole body approach. We are not just a psychotherapist looking to solve mental health issues. We are not just a gastroenterologist trying to solve your digestive issues. It is an all-encompassing program that seriously changes lives.
The integration aspect of it sounds awesome, I must say, because I think that's kind of what I've personally been looking for, because it's so complex and so individual and so interconnected. And like you say, you see a therapist and it's all intellectual and everything's intellectualized, and there's no focus on the kind of physicality of stuff. And then you see the doctor and they're just looking to kind of push you somewhere else or prescribe. So the fact that you guys are integrating it as a whole is very cool.
Yeah, I have not yet seen another company similar in having the ability to, because I'm certainly not a doctor, but I have the ability to order these tests. And as practitioners, we are taught to interpret these tests and create a protocol for them using natural supplements. And of course, the lifestyle shifts. So your body can basically heal itself with the support of some supplements along the way. And what's beautiful is that there are doctors affiliated with the company that really back the ability to get these tests. So if there are more complex tests, we meet with a clinical advisor to have multiple eyeballs looking at these tests, because they've looked at hundreds of thousands when maybe a practitioner has looked at a couple hundred. So it's such a beautiful team in the background to make sure that you're getting your best results that you can.
Is this a global initiative, or is it?
There are practitioners all around the world that go through their certification.
Under the FDN?
Yes.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know that it's a global thing. And you incorporate into it things like mineral status. What's that?
Mineral status. Yes. There are tests out there that can let us know if you do have any heavy metals, if your minerals are quite low. There's a test that you can test your hair. Actually, it's called a hair tissue mineral analysis, or you can test your blood as well. And there are hundreds of tests that we have access to as practitioners. We are taught on 5 foundational labs that we like to run with every client to really get a good basis. And then depending on those results and your symptoms and your medical history, we can always branch out, and look at if mold might be an issue, if candida might be an issue. So it's really vast of the directions that we can go.
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating. It seems like a very progressive approach. Like you say, you haven't seen anyone else kind of doing it. Is it very costly?
So the tests themselves are not covered by insurance, which I know some red flags might raise in people's head, because they're like, oh, well, I'm not going to pay for that if it's not covered by my insurance. But I want to throw a perspective in here of that's why it's not covered by insurance, because it actually helps you heal. The insurance company is a sick care model. And yes, there are instances where emergencies come up where it is so beneficial to have. But if you're looking to really optimize your health and not just maybe maintain symptoms or have them get worse, sometimes the investment does come up front. So the tests, it depends on the test. Certainly how complex the test is does depend on the cost, but they're not typically covered by insurance. There might be a few that you can invest with your HSA account or an FSA account, but typically it is an out-of-pocket.
Sorry to keep bringing it back to me, but I have a lot of frustrations with because Germany is renowned for having an awesome healthcare system, but I've had a lot of issues with with health insurance, and one little thing is like it's kind of bigger than the health insurance. Like I was on my bike riding to a lake to do a cold plunge, which was essentially for my health and well-being. And on the way there, I got a call from the health insurance people, and they were just completely stressing me out about my income and about some trivial finance thing. And I sort of realized in that moment the irony of the fact that I was on my way to do something very holistic for my well-being, and I was just being stressed out over a tedious financial thing that didn't make a lot of sense by a health insurance company. Does that make sense?
I know. Yeah. It's so unfortunate sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just
so much stress you know.
Yeah. And like you say, they're not necessarily interested in the things that are going to improve our well-being, because that's going to possibly put them out of business. So,
Right.
yeah. So I read also like epigenetics comes into play with what you're doing.
Absolutely. So epigenetics are all of those lifestyle factors. As we know, all of us have genes. We inherited these genes from past generations, and maybe we are predisposed to a certain health condition or a certain diagnosis. However, the epigenetics, the lifestyle factors, influence those genes. So if we are predisposed to diabetes, maybe we're looking into a particular type of food that is supportive so our blood sugar stays balanced. So, like I said, if you have a certain lifestyle that is managing stress, eating well, sleeping well, exercising well, all of those factors, those influence and turn on and off certain genes to express themselves. So it's not to say that you're going to end up with this diagnosis just because your family has it. It's no, you have the power in your own hands to be able to turn on and off genes depending on your environment, your lifestyle.
Wow, it's kind of mind blowing.
It's so empowering too, right?
It really is. No, because I firmly believe that, like we have potential genetic dispositions to things, but just through my own practices and stuff, I firmly believe we can, particularly with the mental health side of things. So how important is like mindfulness and meditation to you in all of this?
It's huge. It's probably far exceeds any other thing that I could tell you, because our mental state influences everything. The thoughts we think create the emotions, which then create us to make those actions that may or may not be helpful for us. So if mindfulness can be part of everybody's routine every single day, and that can be as simple as setting an alarm and deeply and slowly breathing on the hour for 2 minutes. It could be that. It could be 20 minutes of sitting by yourself and just looking around your room and noticing stuff. It could be listening to binaural beats or a certain word meditation. I think the more mindful we can be of ourselves and literally checking in with ourselves, because society teaches us to disconnect. And we're so up here all the time, and we're so in la la land, and all these branches like an octopus is like going. However, when we're mindful, we can tell when we're having good digestion and why. We can tell when that relationship feels toxic or supportive. So the more mindful that we can be, it changes our whole life. And it's not easy.
Oh, definitely. And I think everybody's kind of quick to diagnose, and it's a real, I've done it myself. It's such a danger to just Google symptoms. It's like, it's the worst. But again, like the technology and stuff, the society we live in, so there's such opportunity for progressive stuff like you guys are doing. But also, like you say, the distraction and the self-diagnosis and all that is a danger. So to bring it back to, like you say, just taking a tiny piece of the day, like even if that's 1 or 2 minutes, to send to yourself and try and step out all that noise, can only benefit.
Absolutely. And to at least start with that. And it is just a growing everyday journey. It's not like we're ever finished to say, my brain is now fixed. It's a constant rewiring to make sure that you're thinking the thoughts that you want to think and cultivating the emotions with those thoughts. And that's how we do change lives. I feel like sometimes when we're in the face of adversity or we get told that we have a certain diagnosis, on one end, it really impacts our brain because we have a certain perception of PCOS or of diabetes, and our mental capacity could really shut down. But I think sometimes those labels help our brain register what's going on in a way. However, that's not you. Your diagnosis is not who you are. You have to break free of that and really cultivate this mental capacity that you can expand much further than what your diagnosis might feel limiting to you.
Yeah, your diagnosis doesn't define you.
Yeah.
So doing this type of work, have you found now that you're aligned with this type of work, that has also benefited you, like holistically as a person?
Yeah, I would say once I healed those initial physical health symptoms, my body gained more of a capacity because I don't think I mentioned this, but I was extremely fatigued, could not sleep, muscle soreness after 4 days after training. It was quite intense. And after I was able to heal the physical symptoms from lifestyle changes, and I did incorporate meditation. I did that every day for maybe about 10, 20 minutes. I had amazing results. And then further down the road, I witnessed my emotional body kind of come up. A lot of unaware feelings that I was having because I did not have the capacity to know what tools to bring out to help regulate my system. And so in large part, I started with the physical self because that's what was really apparent to me. But I want to say that every physical thing that comes up has an emotion with it that first started to manifest. And symptoms are always the last thing to occur. It's always much deeper. So I would say as I progressed through my journey, it's been a large focus to integrate the physical or the emotional side, not just the physical. And with that, I've also gained tools to help regulate, to help talk myself through things, to seek help from a professional that might be in somatic experiencing or in a certain modality that I don't yet have experience in. So it's always this opportunity to continue to expand, and how can you continue to improve? Because the certification that I have as a practitioner through FDN is very much physical focused, but with the stress reduction piece that I help coach clients on, I now integrate somatic experiencing, sound healing to really work internally on that nervous system regulation.
It's interesting. The regulation, call it the physical regulation first, which then allows the more subtle, I guess, the more kind of subtle emotional stuff to actually be able to do what it needs to. Yeah, getting that kind of foundation in. And I've always said, like, you know, if things are down, you can always like kind of pound the pavement or just swim, you know, try and get the physical stuff going. But yeah, diet stuff is so complicated. Like just this past few years, I've just gone through a whole process of trial and error and trying different things and thinking it's one thing and finding another. But I guess it hasn't been great in that I've taken all that on myself because, as I say, I've kind of lost faith in the standard
standard practice. So this sounds really awesome, and I'm gonna follow it up. I don't know if there's practitioners here in Germany. I'll have to, or Europe. I guess Europe. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I'm sure there could be, and we can absolutely chat offline to see if I can help in any way.
Cool. I like to suggest challenges for the listeners. Do you have something, not to put you on the spot, but something that they can perhaps do relative to any of this stuff?
Yes. And it might be a simple share, but I believe that the nervous system controls all the aspects of what we do and how we think. So if we can tap into our nervous system, the more that we have the capability and the awareness to change our diet, to change our sleep hygiene, our exercise, our way that we navigate relationships. And I think the first thing in supporting the nervous system, because even as I look through the screen now, there is a bright light on my face. And this is artificial light hitting my face, my cells. And it's not necessarily supportive to my health. It's very stimulating. And so that's stimulating my nervous system. And although we might consciously not feel like I'm feeling anxious or I'm feeling some sort of way, all these little things impact us. The air that we're breathing right now comes with it a certain energy that impacts our nervous system. So if I can give just one piece of advice, is to bring it, as in your breath, back to your awareness. Literally watching the breath slowly come in through your nose, down all the way to your belly in a slow manner, and then pushing it out through your mouth or through your nose. If we can do that more consciously all the time, we are going to have so much of a change in how we live. Because, like I said, when we're breathing in, you might actually feel a burp come out, a yawn, a certain noise, or maybe your chest feels more open and your belly feels more calm. All of these signs when you're doing the breath is you shifting your nervous system into a parasympathetic state. A lot of times with the light, with the breath, with the water, with the food, everything that we're consuming, it stimulates us into the sympathetic, which is that overactive, like we're running from a tiger state. And that causes mineral loss, that causes digestive issues. So if we can simply shift more into the parasympathetic, using our breath being one, meditation could be another, somatic exercises could be another, but to just start somewhere, I would start really with the breath.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's come up. Breathwork has come up a bit on the show in terms of taking time to focus on that. I know I held my breath for years, basically.
We all do. I catch myself doing it still, and I'm like, no, we should not do that.
Having worked in some office environments in the past and stuff, like just holding the breath, and I can tell it's kind of put pressure on the nervous system. But that's an awesome challenge, is to try and bring it back to that. Sounds like it's such a simple thing, but and also just with constant screens around us and exposure, like you say, to all sorts of elements around us, kind of got to have some kind of protection, I guess, if that's the right word for it all. Yeah. But that's a very cool challenge. Where can people find you? Are you particularly focused on the US with the FDN?
It could be anywhere in the world, which is so amazing to say. But people can find me through email, which is discover@falynmorningstar.com, or Instagram is a great place as well, @FalynHunterMorningstar.
Awesome. I'll put all the links in the episode. But it's short, but it's really I've learned a lot even in a short amount of time. So thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, thank you for having me.